Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Kamie Crawford. And today, I love when my people come back to visit me. We have Erin Claire Jones. She's been on the podcast before. She's the founder of Human Design Blueprint and new author of How Do You Choose? A Human Design Guide to What's Best for You in Work, Love, and Life. Erin, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I just love everything that you do, everything that you are. You're giving people such a gift. You've given me such a gift in just understanding myself more. And when I'm having a difficult time, I just think, wait for the invitation.
I know.
That's all I can
Yeah.
think. And it works. It works every single time.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like you and I share a type in human design, so we share that invitation piece. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've been studying and teaching this for 10 years, and still I have plenty of those moments where I'm like, I see why this is not feeling good.
Yeah.
There's another way.
There's another way.
Yeah.
There's always another way as a projector.
Yeah.
I'm an expert. No, but there's still so many things that I'm learning. And we're going to talk about human design for those who did not hear our first go around at this, because you came on the podcast in 2022.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
3 years ago. So much life has changed for both of us.
Mhm.
You've had 2 kids since then.
Yeah.
And written this book, which is incredible. So some people have not heard of what human design is. So this will
Yeah.
be a good intro for them. But if you don't know what human design is, go back to that episode that we did in 2022. Listen to that, then come back to this and listen to this, because we're not going to go over everything,
Mhm.
but we'll touch on the basics. But I want to know from you, what did you learn more about human design and about yourself through writing this book?
Oh gosh, I love that question. I feel like I speak about human design so differently now on the other side of this book, which I didn't really anticipate. I think the book is very much meant to be like a real-time decision-making guide, where if you're in a moment of like resistance or challenge or something's not feeling good, you open it, you're like, oh, right, that's why.
Yeah.
This is what I can do. But I think my favorite part about the book is that it's so full of stories. I basically looked back at like sitting with thousands of people over the years and really kind of understanding how human design has shown up in their life. And so I really told the story of human design through people's actual lives. So I feel like the way that I talk about human design now is it's like through the lens of people. It's not just like regurgitating these like concepts and ideas. It's more like, what does it actually look like in real life? What does
Yeah.
it look like to be a projector in community? What does it look like as a manifestor, like beginning to date? What does it look like to like build a company as a generator? So it feels so much more grounded than it ever has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm like, I know why you wrote the book, because the world needs more information about this, but I love that like more human aspect to it, because I think that some people can look at human design or even like a human design chart and feel like it's very, I don't know if clinical is like
Yeah.
the word, or like woo woo or what, but like this is a real tool for people.
Totally.
And real people like myself and yourself
Yeah.
use it
Yeah.
to better ourselves.
Exactly.
And the last time you came on the podcast, we talked about like how to find your perfect human design match in dating.
Yeah.
Today, I want to talk more about just like you as a person using human design to better yourself as you and in your work, and like, you know, to expand and like to live in abundance and all of those things that everyone's searching for.
Yeah.
And having it be more of a personal thing rather than something that's dictated with somebody else.
Mhm.
But I'm so happy that you wrote this book. I'm so happy that you're here to talk about this, because the people, myself included, we need all the help that we can get, especially in times like this.
I know. Very true. Very true.
Especially in times like this. But for those who are listening who don't know what human design is, what is human design? What does it mean to you? And if you can share your human design type, which I already know.
Okay, great. So human design is a mystical assessment tool that basically reveals how you are wired to thrive in every part of your life, from business to career to relationships to parenting, all of it. It helps you know how you're meant to make decisions, navigate challenges, create opportunities for yourself, leverage your strengths, and so much more. It's so practical. It really gives us so much amazing insight and then so many tools to actually put that insight into action. And I am a projector in human design. If you guys don't yet know your type, you can look it up at humandesignblueprint.com.
Yes. Make sure you look it up. pause this right now and look it up, because you're not going to know what we're talking about if
And you've got two
don't
projectors
know.
here.
And you need to know where to pause and where to go back and rewind and listen again. You bringing up parenthood just now, I don't know if we talked about parenthood the last time
Probably not.
because you weren't there yet. But
I
like,
know.
how has understanding yourself as a projector helped you with parenting 2 babies under 3 years old?
I know. Well, it's been actually really amazing because in human design, there are 5 types.
Yeah.
Manifesting generators, projectors, manifestors, generators, and reflectors. My husband's a generator. I'm a projector. My toddler's a manifesting generator. And my baby is a manifester. So we have 4
Wow.
of the 5 types represented in our little home, which is crazy.
I feel like you designed it this way.
I know. I'm like, do we need a 3rd reflector? Like, it's going to be hard to get that. But I would say, to answer the question, I think that so much of being a projector is really not losing ourselves in this pressure to kind of constantly do. There's this need to kind of like be involved in everything, and we never really know when to stop. And so it often requires real effort to be like, it's okay to stop. It's okay to be unproductive. It's okay to like have a moment where you're like just doing you and you're alone. So I think in the era of motherhood, I've really given myself a lot of permission. I would say it's harder to access time alone now than ever before.
Yeah.
And the pockets are much shorter.
Which
and they're
projectors need.
Desperately, and they're rare.
Yeah.
But I remember with my first kid, like 4 months out, I was like, I'm going to start going to Pilates. And like Sunday mornings, I would go to Pilates. I would go on my own, and like just like creating those rituals, knowing how much better of a mother it would make me has really made a difference. I also think as projectors, like we're just not here to do it all alone ever. And we need help. And so like, you know, I have also really embraced that. Like we have help that we pay. And also like I'll text my neighbors and be like, help me. You know, even this morning I had to like leave early and my daughter was going to her school. And so I was like, neighbor, please help me with the baby. And she's like, I would love to. So like, I feel like I've really learned to ask for help because I know that like, 1, a lot of people love to help, you know, including me. And 2, I think that like, I just have no expectation that I can do this all alone. I also think that like my husband's a generator. He's got a lot of energy and stamina and like constant ability to like play all the time. And so I think it's also been good for us to find our flow and not expect each other to be the same. But I would actually say the thing that comes up the most is seeing my daughters be so different than me. And I feel like I just love human design because it's giving me so much permission to not expect them to be anything like me. And like I'm already seeing how different they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself like constantly not analyzing, but like seeing the traits of their types like show up as they grow?
I am seeing it. It's hard not to see it. You know, I feel like it's like such a constant lens for me. I'm definitely not like forcing it where it's like, how can I make sure my manifesting generator does many things? But I'm seeing it really clearly. Like my toddler, manifesting generators are very multi-passionate, very charismatic, kind of like balls of sun when they like are genuinely lit up. And she is just like, I mean, I told you before we started recording, like she came out like cackling at 2 months old. Like everything was hilarious to her. And she's so much energy, you know, and like, and just like such a magnet to people. And you walk in and like, she's so felt like she feels like the mayor wherever she goes. And then my 7-month-old today is a manifestor, and manifestors like crave freedom, and they're often like quite intense, like really good at like doing their own thing, really tend to like not follow the crowd. And the 2 anecdotes that come up with her, one is that when I was giving birth, she came out in one push, which was like super bizarre.
Wow.
Like I started pushing and then I looked at my doula, I was like, I believe her head is out. And she like turned, she's like, her head is indeed out. Like it was so fast. And I felt like very manifestory, which she was, and she's like a very speedy manifestor. It was just like, she was just like, let's like,
she's like, let's go. Let's get this done.
The other thing that comes up is that when she was 2 months old, she started flipping over and breaking out of her swaddle, which is really early. And like, it was just so clear that she just wanted like freedom. And I was like trying to like flip her back over. And like, I just couldn't because like, she was like, this is my way. Like she's just so discerning and she seems to know exactly what she wants. And like, you can't really shift it when she's there. So like, I'm just witnessing. But I feel like in a moment like that, where I was like, oh, she should sleep on her back, or like, should we swaddle? I was like, no, she's like, got this, you know? And so I don't know. It's been fun to witness, especially from the place of like, again, not trying to change them, just trying to learn them.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I also just love babies, so I love hearing about every single thing that they do.
I know. Maybe not everyone loves. I love it too.
I love it. I like whenever I meet moms out in the wild and like, or parents just in general, and they're like, "Oh, we just had a baby." I'm like, "Show me." I know you have a folder full of pictures.
And also,
of your
they
kids.
want to show you.
And I want to.
I mean, I showed
them.
you without even being asked.
I want to see all of the photos, videos. I'm never gonna be that person. I can't stand when I'm with someone who like isn't
Yeah.
obsessed with babies the way that I
Totally.
am, and someone starts showing pictures of their kid and they just like zone out. I'm like,
Yeah.
this person is showing you, they just brought this into the world.
Through them. Yeah.
Look at it. It's like when I show
Thank you
pictures
for
of
that.
my dog, I'm
Totally.
like, this is my child. I
Yeah.
need you to look at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's beautiful. So those are like some themes
Yeah.
for both manifesting generators and
Manifestors.
Projectors, we know that our work here to what we're here to do is to accept the invitation.
Mhm.
And then for generators and reflectors,
Yeah.
what are their themes?
So I would say generators are really capable people that like have so much energy to make things happen when again they're really excited by what they're doing. And like there is nothing that beats being around a lit up generator. I think a lesson that I've learned just in my own journey being married to a generator is that because they are so capable, they can end up caring a lot. You know, and people are like, can you do this? And can you handle this? And it's just like they become burdened with so many things that are so far from their passions. And kind of it's obviously a fast path to burnout. So
Yeah.
one of the ways that I think we can best love generators is really acknowledging their desires and making space for them. And, you know, I tell many stories in the book of like generator partners who just like learning how to really do that for each other. There's one story of two generators married to each other, and their biggest love language is like, you know, I can see you when they like need to go work in the yard, go do that. Or I can see you need to work on your novel, go do that. But it's basically acknowledging like, you love doing this thing. Like, how can I give you space to do that? Reflectors are the rarest type. Do you know any reflectors?
Sandra Bullock.
Definitely.
That's the only one I know.
I talk about her in the book. Yeah.
The first time that we recorded, I was like looking up different, like I got fascinated. I was like, wait, okay, if I'm a projector, who else is a projector? And I was looking up reflectors, which I remember we talked about as the rarest one.
Yeah.
And I knew Sandra Bullock was one. And that's all I know.
Well, it's fun because in the book I kind of introduce each chapter with a story of a celebrity of that type or strategy or authority and kind of a moment in their life that really embodies it. And reflectors were so interesting because like they're harder to find.
Yeah.
But the ones that I found, they're Sandra Bullock and then Rosalind Carter.
Oh yeah.
And then also Amma. Do you know Amma, the hugging saint?
No.
She goes. Anyways, she goes around and literally gives hugs. She's given so many millions of hugs all over the world.
Sounds like my mom.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I once like was. Anyways, so reflectors are very rare. They basically are people that are so sensitive to their environment. They really kind of take in and amplify the space that they're around. So being in the right space is so crucial for them. I'd also say another theme for them is that they're very fluid. They'll probably have parts of each type that they resonate with. And so part of their work is not to try to be just one thing, but embrace the vastness of who they are and knowing like it's all them.
How does this work in work?
Yeah.
Like with your career?
Okay.
Like for myself, I can only speak for myself as a projector. But I know we've talked in at the time in my career when I was on 3 different shows and I was working crazy hours and like flying across the world to do different shows and flying across the country to do stuff. And now I'm in a place where I am rebranding what I want my career and my future to look like. And I figured it out. And now I'm in the active process of making that happen while still knowing that I am waiting for that invitation for the right thing to come to me and for it to click and for it to be exactly, you know, for it to feel destined.
Yeah.
But at the same time, knowing that I have to put myself out there.
Yeah.
I have to be, you know, as on the scene as possible, which is exhausting for someone who's a projector and a Scorpio who needs like time to hibernate for a decent amount of time before I can go back out into the world. My social battery should be on 0 for the type of person that I am, but I feel so like driven to make this thing happen that I'm moving. And also like pitching myself, you know, essentially. And it can be daunting for someone who, like we've talked about, I got issues with rejection. I can't take it. And I also know that the times when I've actually sought out something, it hasn't happened for me.
Yeah.
So for a projector or for any of the types, like how do you go about maximizing your career potential?
Yeah.
And like basically putting things into motion. Like how do you do it?
Okay, great. I love this. So we're going to start with projectors.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious, your experience with it. So every type in human design will have a strategy, and the strategy is around how you best create opportunities, which I feel like is what you're asking. And I feel like that's really helpful for every type to know, because whether it's work or whether it's romantic, it's like, how do we find our way into the right things for us? So I would say high level as a projector, you are somebody that is not meant to be a consistent doer. I was actually going to take a quick peek at your chart because I suspect that I'm just taking a quick look.
Erin knows all my tea.
So wait, this actually is not your chart. Let me find your actual chart. I'm like, this is not the one that I know. So I suspect that you have this channel. Okay. We're going to return to this, but
I knew I was a 1-3, but I still don't know what that means.
Oh, we can talk about that. Okay, so basically as a projector, you are somebody that just carries a lot of amazing gifts around the questions you ask, how deeply you see people, the presence you carry, and it's not about how many hours you work or how much you can do. And so much of being a projector is disentangling our worth from like our ability to just like consistently hustle. And so I would say one of your journeys in your career, me too, is like really identifying like what are those gifts that are so beyond that. And my guess for you is like, it's the way you make people feel. It's the presence. It's people like wanting you to just be there because you're you, not because you're like, I was working till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And so.
Yes. My mother would agree with this.
Yeah.
And so what I think I agree with this. I feel my mom, my mom is a chronic quoter. She has a lot of quotes that she uses and a lot of sayings, but she always says that people won't always remember what you said, but how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And so it always make people feel invited and warm and all of those things. So,
and also like it feels like you're making people feel like what you also aspire to feel like, in terms of being invited. But I think that is one of the best gifts that projectors offer, is making people feel deeply recognized and seen. And so I would say, just for your career, kind of considering like what are the areas in which you feel seen for those gifts. And then your strategy for finding the right opportunities is to be invited, like you said. And it basically means that you are meant to work with people that like just see those gifts very clearly. You don't have to convince them of anything. They just get it, and they like want to give you all the right support to like bring those gifts to life. But it's hard because sometimes the people that you want to be seen by are not always going to be the ones that see you. And so we're here to kind of pay attention to where we feel genuinely recognized, but it's also meant to be proactive. Like your work, like you said, is to make yourself visible, like let people know that you exist and see what kind of invitations come your way. It doesn't mean you can't pitch people. I definitely pitch people too. But I would always kind of check in around when an like opportunity comes up, like do they actually really clearly see you? Because I notice for me there's such a difference in those moments when I'm like, oh, they get it. I have no convincing, versus like I'm working so hard to be seen by this person, and like it's just like it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that, because there have been moments in my career where I keep saying like now I'm in a place where I'm not starting over from scratch, but I am starting over from a different point. And so I feel, kind of like I'm networking again to put myself back out there and, let people know like, hey, I'm still here. I know I've been busy for a while, but I'm back. But I've now, and then when I was in the beginning of my career, I would always say like, they just need to find out about me. Like these people just need to find out about me.
Yeah.
These people just need to meet me. Like, and it sounds a little, like I'm a little snooty and like tooting my own horn, but like I genuinely feel that in certain spaces, if people just knew that I existed, if people just met me and saw me, then it would click and they would know. Right?
So,
does that make sense?
Yeah, but also knowing you, I feel like I'm like, yeah, obviously, like, but I think that, I guess I have a question for you, and then I want to share an example from my own life to kind of let people know what it can look like. You talked about how there were some moments when things weren't working, and then you'd be like, I'm not waiting for the invitation. Like, can you share an example of that? Like, what's it look like not to wait for the invitation?
Well, I have sought things out, and then it didn't work out.
Right.
Like, I remember on your live, I talked about Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah.
I wanted Forbes 30 under 30 for so long, for all of my 20s. And for me, it was like the pinnacle of like success. If you have Forbes 30 under 30 in your bio, you have made it. I don't know anything about these people, but like if you have it, done. Like, you might as well have won a Nobel Peace Prize in my mind in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I wanted it. I submitted for it. I had a publicist at the time. They submitted me for it and I didn't get it. And I was devastated because I thought like, well, what does this mean for my success? Like, what does this mean for my career? Have I really made it if I got rejected from this thing and I can't put Forbes 30 to 30 in my Instagram bio? I might as well just pack it up and forget about it. And it's funny because after I got rejected from that, which I already mentioned having a problem with rejection, but after I got rejected from that, not even a month later, I got a text about being in Sports Illustrated swimsuit. And that was something that I had also always wanted, but never put myself out there to do. They have like Swim Search, but I never put myself out there to do it because, again, didn't want to be rejected. So I was just like, this sounds delusional, but when the time comes, like they will come to me and it will happen. And it did. Yeah. And so that's like my biggest example of like,
that's a great one.
I wanted something so badly. Yeah. And I was like going for it and thinking that like I needed this thing to be able to feel successful. Yeah. And then it didn't happen. This other thing that I really, really wanted, but didn't put as much pressure on it. I was just like, it'll come. Yeah. And I kept on obviously posting my pictures and putting myself out there and doing my work. And the people who found me from that were watching me on TV. Wow. So it ended up working out anyway, but like I didn't have to force it.
And I think that's the kind of moment to look at is like, are you just like, are you forcing it? Are you trying so hard to be seen by somebody where it's like not coming very naturally? Yeah. And I think that like it requires a lot of trust and it can be hard. Like I said, it's like sometimes the people we most want to see us are not the ones that do. Yeah. You know, but it's also allowing that. So I think that's an amazing example. And it's also, it requires a level of surrender too, where it's like, I think projectors, one of the things I love about projectors is they're a bit intense. And like intense in that like they make people feel very seen, very recognized. They see so many things that can be so transformative. But if people aren't ready for that, it just can feel like too much. Yeah. Even on like a friendship level, you know? And so that's also, I think I've learned to use the invitation as a tool to just guide my energy and trust that it's actually protecting it and letting me know like who's actually ready for me and when. And like not putting me in spaces where like they're not ready or they just don't want it.
Yeah. I have used it in friendship too. And with my family, like I am, you know, as you've told me, like being a projector and my specific type, I am able to see people. I'm able to kind of feel what it is that they need. I love to give advice, like, and I'm an empath just by nature. So like I take on a lot of energy right into my design. But when it comes to friends and family, even though I may know what they need or I feel like I know what they need, I may not know what they need at that specific time. And maybe it's not that. Maybe they don't need to talk about it. Maybe they're not in a place to get that kind of advice or that kind of energy. And I've had to wait for them to ask me.
Totally.
Versus just like imposing my shit and be like, this is what you need to do. They might not be ready for that.
And I think timing makes such a big difference for us as projectors. It's like if you deliver that insight before they're ready, it's going to go over their head and you'll be left feeling bitter and resentful. Right. So it's worth waiting for the right moment. Yeah. The example I was going to share is when I look back on like all the big opportunities in my life, it's all come from being invited. Like I know that I think I've shared this story with you before, but when I first discovered human design, it was 10 years ago.
In New York.
In New York City, Lower East Side. Here we were back to where it all started. And I met a stranger who read my chart. And he ended that conversation by saying, Erin, I think you're meant to do this. I want you to study with me and build a business with me, which looking back is like, was pretty crazy. Yeah. But like, that's how it all started. Yeah. You know, and like, and then there have been a lot of moments, including the book, that have like come from those like very specific moments. So like invitations are not meant to come all day, every day. Yeah. But they are these things that just open up these new chapters for you that are often unexpected. So they're worth paying attention to.
Yeah. What about for the other types? How can they use their strategies to enhance their life?
So generators and manifesting generators, they share a strategy, and their strategy is to respond. It basically means that they're not meant to sit at home and like come up with their next idea or next step out of thin air. It's about being out in the world and seeing what naturally sparks their gut response. So they might listen to a podcast and like, oh my God, I want to like start a podcast. They might be on Instagram and be like, oh my God, they'd be the perfect client. I'm going to pitch them. One story I tell in the book is around a client who was reading the Wall Street Journal. and she read an article and felt like there were all these gaps in the article. So she had like this huge gut response. She ended up pitching the editor, and they ended up collaborating on like many pieces after that. So that kind of
Wow.
like really kickstarted a big new partnership for her. But like the response is basically waiting for that gut response to guide you instead of like where you think you maybe should go. So, but what I love about this strategy is it's often very unexpected. You might think that you want to move in a certain direction, and then an opportunity shows up that's totally unexpected, but feels right in ways that are undeniable.
Yeah.
And so you follow that.
Wow.
So these people are very magnetic, and often it's kind of a relief to be like, I don't have to go like chase and force either. But for the difference here is invitations are somebody being like, hey, you'd be amazing at this. Whereas for generators, it's like anything can show up in their world, and it's whether or not their gut is responding to it.
Like, this is me.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I need to go do this thing.
Yeah.
And it's true with dating. You know, they might be swiping, and there's one person where they're like, oh my God, I have to reach out. Or they might be at a party and be like, oh my God, that person across the room, I have to go start a conversation.
Yeah.
Then we've got, do you know your boyfriend, by the way?
I know I looked it up, but I think it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like when we first met, I was like, I need your birth time.
Yeah.
I need your birthday, and I need your human design. And I got all of them together.
Yeah.
I feel like was he a projector like me? I don't even know. I have to look it up again.
We have to look it up. I know.
We have to look it up again. I feel like he was a projector like me, and I was like, no, you're not.
I feel like you maybe told me that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have
I
to
have to look it up
investigate.
again.
Yeah.
We'll investigate.
So manifestors, their strategy is to initiate. They're the only type that's really here to just like make the first move. And that's true of dating, that's true of jobs. Like they're basically waiting for some like urge to bubble up within them. They need no external confirmation or cue. And then once that bubbles up, to just act on it. But it's funny because the people that I meet that are manifestors are often the people that have never given themselves permission to make the first move. That have
Wow.
been kind of sitting on the sidelines, and like they're the ones that are really just here to like start a thing and pitch a thing and create a thing out of nowhere.
Why do you find that they tend to wait?
Because I feel like so often we try to be the thing that we're not. Like I remember, so manifestors are 8 to 9% of the population. I remember giving a talk in New York City maybe 7 years ago, and I asked the people before I even shared the designs, I said, who here thinks they're a manifestor? Who thinks they're here to initiate? And basically 80% of the room raised their hand, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, it's funny that manifestors are often the ones that haven't given themselves that permission. But what I love is that, especially when it comes to dating, when I often sit with manifestors, they're like, it's so funny you say that because there are a few relationships that I initiated on a whim. And like, those are the ones that were just like the most extraordinary ones for me. So like, it is just funny that like, they would sometimes like just go do it. And then they kind of notice that. So it's nice to be like, what is our actual way so we can choose to do that?
Yeah.
The final type is reflector. Their strategy is very much about putting themselves in the right space. So they're looking for new work opportunities, new romantic opportunity or romantic partners. It's about placing themselves in spaces they enjoy, whether it's a cafe, a city, a restaurant, a table, a park, and kind of seeing what emerges there. So being really kind of proactive around like, what space do I most enjoy being in, and how can I just let opportunities flow while I'm there?
Wow. So like if you're looking for a new career opportunity and you want something and you're like, oh, I've been thinking about moving to New York, like make the move.
Totally. Like you just don't underestimate the impact of your space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
I love that one. That's the one that you said is most impacted by the environment, but it's the most rare.
But it is most rare. And there's one story I tell in the book of a reflector who really wanted to work at the UN. She lived in New York City and like didn't really know how to get there. And she was working at a wine bar that she loved as a server. And one day a woman walked in and was just a patron there, and just like they were having a casual conversation, and the woman asked like, what are your aspirations? What do you want to do? And she's like, I want to work at the UN. And the woman worked at the UN. She ran an NGO there. She ended up hiring her there, and she ended up working there for the next 7 years. And then like,
wow.
But it was like so many. And then she told another story of like she went to a grant writing workshop because she was like really like drawn to it. And then like the instructor hired her, and then she like worked for him for 3 years. So it was just like all these very serendipitous moments, just like following the spaces that felt good and the moments that felt right, and just like seeing what happened.
Wow. I shouldn't be jealous of anyone else's design type.
Design envy is a thing.
I would like to know what it's like to be the most rare of all the types.
I know.
Being a
But
reflector.
remember, you are so rare because even though you're a projector, you and I are entirely different kinds of projectors.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, we have some people that wrote in because they're trying to figure out how to use their human design to maximize their life, which maximize your life sounds like very fitness focused, but like, how would you say it?
I like it. I think that like it's really about finding your flow. Like, and I think in a way where it's like, how can you show up to every part of your life in a way that feels really authentic and true to you? Like, practically, people might build a business that's successful, but like burns them out.
Yeah.
So that can they like build a thing that does well, but also feels good? So it's kind
Mm.
of like extending that to every part of our lives.
That's human design.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Here we go. We have a few. Okay. Someone first said, I missed the human design content. Like they're very excited about this. Okay. This person said, I'm a projector like us. Hey, triplet. And I'm curious what career paths projectors thrive in.
I love this. Well, I too talk about a lot of popular roles for projectors in the book because the book, there's a whole chapter on projectors and work. But I will say, just before I talk about popular roles, human design is not meant to tell you what you can or cannot do. It lets us know how we can do that thing best. So, as a projector, if you're drawn to a different kind of role, you can do it. Just you might do it differently than other people. I think projectors tend to be very natural entrepreneurs, actually, when they have the right support because it gives them the freedom to set their own schedule. But they also are just like really good leaders, like really good managers, really good CEOs, really good visionaries. They tend to be really good coaches, counselors, therapists, guides, like any role where they're kind of reflecting back and guiding other people. There are a lot of podcast hosts that are projectors because they're really good at asking the right questions.
Wow.
And making people feel seen, like really good hosts and things like that. But also there are projectors tend to love mastering systems. So I also see like lawyers being projectors, or I love human design, Enneagram experts, astrologers, things like that. So they all like those are ones that I tend to see most often.
There we go. So you can basically do whatever you want. But
and the stories of the projectors I tell in the book are Nelson Mandela, an amazing example of just like this leader that obviously is like incredibly wise.
Yeah.
Also RuPaul.
RuPaul's a projector and a Scorpio like me.
And also the story I tell in the book, you're going to love this because he is the story of invitation. Because he basically was like pasting promotional posters of himself when he was like young in LA. And these two men walked past who had just started, I think it's called the World of Wonder Productions. And they were just like, this man is a star. And they like signed him. And like, that is what jump started his career.
Let me go put some posters outside. Let me get a few posters. Start plastering them around New York City.
I know. Why not?
Right.
But but those are two good examples of projectors.
Wow.
Obama too.
Barack is a projector.
Michelle's a generator.
Of course she is. Getting shit done. Ugh, what a queen. Okay. A few questions about astrology and human design together. People are basically asking like how does that work? So this person says, I'm a generator. I'm supposed to think before I speak, but I'm a Gemini. How do I balance human design and signs?
So, there are different systems, but they tend to be quite compatible. Astrology does play a role in human design, but like how it manifests in human design is quite different. I would experiment with it. Like, I feel like the magic of even human design is there can be elements of our design that actually feel contradictory, but are just like require balance. Like some people in their human designs, they might have a 2-4 profile, which basically means they're incredibly hermetic and really need time alone, and they desperately need community. So it's like these are two opposite things, but like it's just about finding balance between the two. So I would say that I would explore the balance piece. Like as a generator, it's not always about thinking before you speak, but really just letting your gut be the driver and not what you think you maybe should do. And there are other elements of your design that can speak to that as well. So I would focus the human design element there is more like how can you, before you respond to things, drop into your belly and make sure your gut is giving you that yes, instead of kind of speaking from a place of proving or pressure or something like that.
Yeah. For a Gemini, that's very, very difficult to watch their mouths. Geminis tend to, they speak very quickly. They talk a lot. It's a mercurial sign, so they love to yap. But sometimes maybe watch your mouth,
and the thing is, like, if it's working for you, great. I would say where the gut is going to be the most relevant is around when you are committing to new people, new opportunities, things like that. Like, yes, day to day, but also when you're like, saying yes to a new client or moving somewhere new or entering a new friendship. So I would focus on it most importantly there.
Yeah. Okay. Someone else said that they're a Scorpio and a generator. That's a lot of people have been asking about signs, and maybe I need to have
feel like
you
you need
and
to-
Eliza Kelly
Oh my
both
God, I
together.
love Elisa. I was texting with her today.
You both at the same time tag teaming. And
Oh my God,
like,
I know, right?
talking
Because
about
I'm
it.
not an astrologer.
I know
I know.
it's different,
Yeah.
but they're both really amazing
Yes.
tools. And like, I mean, being someone else wrote in and said that they were a Scorpio and a projector like me,
Which feels like it's very supportive, actually.
they are very supportive.
Yeah.
But you also just like feel a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of feelings, so you
Totally.
have to manage both of those things
Right.
equally, but separately.
But also there's another part of your design, and this is beyond being a projector, that you're like a hyper empath. And so
Mhm.
like I feel like there's not only like the deep feelings of your own, but also like really amplifying the feelings of everybody around you.
Yes.
So it's like that's also probably its own journey.
Yes. It is. It is. But you know, we wear it with pride. We do
Yeah.
what we can. Someone said, "Can you break down what it means to have sacral authority?"
Of course. And I go into this deeply in the book too, because it's such an important part of our design, which is around how you make decisions. And so there are 7 different authorities, and it is, I'll give you some examples. Sacral authority is about trusting your gut feeling in the moment. If you guys look up your chart again at humandesignblueprint.com, you'll see your authority listed.
Mhm.
It basically means that you are meant to make decisions based on your visceral gut feeling. It's either going to be like a pull towards or a push away from something. It comes in the moment. Some people like me need like space and time for our truth to settle. Not true for these people. It's just like visceral, guttural, immediate. I would say if you find yourself justifying a decision, like, I think that I should do this because this, not your gut speaking. The gut is more, this thing feels right. I don't know why, but I trust that I'll find out why later. The last piece that I would share is that the gut responds really well to specific questions. So even I just had a podcast before this, and she's like, I don't know if I was like deciding whether or not, like, as she moved to Dubai, she's like, whether that was a choice coming from my gut feeling. And so I asked her, I said, do you want to be in Dubai? And she's like, yes. And like, it was that simple. I feel like with generators, they need simple yes, no questions. And that speaks immediately to their gut.
Wow.
Do you remember your authority?
No.
I'm curious actually, when it comes to your boyfriend, if it played out at all. You are a splenic authority, if I'm remembering correctly.
Like, spell it. What does that
I'm
mean?
gonna just, I know it's like the weirdest name. I'm just gonna double check.
Splenic.
Oh yeah, see, I couldn't find this earlier. Just a quick tangent. I think that part of you and I share this, and so I really recognize it, which is why I thought you might have it, and you do. One of the gifts you have in your design, this is again beyond being a projector, is the gift of ambition. Like, you are somebody who's like so driven
Yes.
to like be successful and do well, and like it's a material drive. Like it's just like, I like really want to do well, and as a projector, it's a really interesting gift to have because it makes us very prone to burnout. And I would say the gift of that channel, what I've learned is that, like, as driven as you are, you're not here to do any of it alone. And you're here to have the most success when you have the right allies around you who recognize how driven you are and just want to lift you up in it.
Yes.
And so like, that's been a big, big lesson for me.
Yeah.
But we are very susceptible to burnout with that one. So that's why I was curious if you had it.
Erin. Yes.
Okay.
Burnout is something that I experience often.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes me like sick. Like
Yeah.
physically. When I'm burnt out, I
Yeah.
feel like the shakes, like I feel like I'm like nauseated.
Yes.
And I genuinely have to like power down for like 3 days straight. Just like
Yeah.
sleep. I was burnt the fuck out last weekend. I slept for 10.5 hours.
Oh, I don't even know what that's like.
Well, yeah, you got 2 kids. I don't got no
That's
kids, girl.
amazing. I'm just
I
like,
don't know, not to brag.
no, I love it. I'm just like listening. I'm like, what would that be like?
All the parents listening are like, girl, bye. No, I slept for 10.5 hours. It
That's
was
amazing.
incredible. I was still tired though after that.
Totally.
Because I had worked nonstop. I had done like 8 podcasts. I had been at a ton of different events. I was getting glam. I was doing all these things, traveling. It was a lot. And
Yeah.
I was burnt out.
Yeah.
But I'm ambitious. So like I got back up this
Kept
next week and
going.
had to keep going and do it again. And then this weekend I'm gonna power down.
Totally.
Maybe go to an outlet mall. Just relax. Do
I
something for
love it.
myself.
Yeah. And honestly, just as a projector, find those pockets where you
Yeah.
can, of like, one thing I'll say as a projector is often we feel like even rest has to be productive. So giving obviously that is like a different thing where like, I truly just have to sleep, but
Yeah.
giving yourself moments where it's like, I'm going to do a thing that is like deliberately unproductive.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to read fiction. I'm going to whatever it is. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to just lay down and like drink a cup of tea. I don't know what the thing is, but your authority is a splenic authority. Splenic.
Mm-hmm.
It means that
I'm like, yep.
Got it. Noted. It means that you are meant to make decisions quickly, very fast. Unlike me, I'm meant to be slow and feel into things. You are somebody who's meant to be actually very spontaneous. And it's not that visceral gut feeling that I was sharing for the person with the sacral authority. It's like a quiet whisper. It's like a voice that you hear tingles like an immediate resonance. And it's hard to trust because one, it's quieter than any other authority. And two, it comes very quickly and disappears just as fast. And so much of your work is getting quiet enough to hear yourself and then courageous enough to act on that intuition when it comes. And especially being in places like New York City and LA, like there's a lot of energy around and you're somebody who's so easily influenced. Not influence isn't the right word. You so easily feel other people's feelings about decisions in a way that you might be like, oh, I'm excited. And then you walk away and you're like, I don't want to do that. But like they were excited. Yeah. So I would say for you, really carving out space to get as quiet as you can, especially as you rebirth yourself in so many ways.
Oh, that's a great, fantastic point. But I am like that. Like if it comes to an event or a brand deal or when I met my boyfriend, immediately I was like, yes, immediately. As soon as I saw him we met on a dating app. As soon as I saw him on the app, I was like, yes. I saw his picture. I was like, hey, absolutely. Heart. And then when I met him in person, I was like, this is my husband. I'm going to have his kids. Like I felt it immediately.
Oh my God.
Immediately. Yeah. So I'm definitely like that. And even when it comes to just like my team's like, oh, do you want to go to this? No. Do you want to do this? No. If I have to think about it too long, the answer is no. Like chances are 9 times out of 10. And if I ever go back on it, I regret it.
Yes.
Everything that I say immediately yes to, I'm very happy with.
Yes.
If I say immediately no, I don't think about it again. If I dilly-dally on it and I'm like, oh, maybe let me just give it I just need a minute. And I say yes, I regret it. I have to just do it quickly.
I love that. I love that you honor that because I feel like so often these authorities feel like they need to mull over things and then they lose that connection to their intuition and lose what actually felt right. Yeah. And I think it's also a good reminder that like it's really powerful to know our own authority, of course, because we're making decisions all day, every day. But it's also really important to know the authority of the people close to us, boyfriends, girlfriends, parents, kids. Yeah. I tell a story in the book of a couple that was trying to decide whether or not to move to the East Coast. And one of them was super fast like you. She immediately knew and it was like, yes, we need to go to New York. And her husband was changing his mind every day. And so they came to me. She was like, this is so annoying. He's waffling. He can't choose. And when we looked up his authority, we discovered he was meant to give himself a full month before making decisions. And so like what she perceived as indecisive was simply his process.
Oh God, a month. So do they
rare.
wait?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's not always feasible to wait, but I think what's most important for these people is that they aren't choosing from pressure.
Yeah. 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 Wow. What's that authority called?
That is for reflectors. It's called none or wait a lunar cycle.
Crazy, wait a lunar cycle?
Yeah, like 28 to 30 days.
Jesus.
But the point being, really helpful to know other people's authorities.
Yeah. Yeah. So that way, like, you can understand them a little bit better. Wow.
Yeah.
Sacral authority is very interesting. I'm still very interested in the food topic.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought mine was cold food, but then you told me that it might not be cold food.
Wait, I don't have yours up here. We're gonna have to
People are like, what are you talking about?
They're like, there's now you've gone into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. Don't know what they're talking about. 2:27 a.m.
Wait, remind me your birthday.
10/25, 92.
Are we just telling? We're telling everybody.
Yeah. And I have 227 tattooed on me. So
10/25, 92.
Yes.
Okay, 92, and then what time again?
2:27 a.m.
Okay, we're gonna figure this out right now.
Yeah.
And then what city?
Cleveland or Shaker Heights, Ohio.
All that matters for those listening, if you're looking it up, all that matters is time zone.
Yeah.
So let me just double confirm, and then we're going to talk about your food because it's fun. October 25th, 1992, 2:27 a.m. in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yep.
And your food is... Ooh, you thought it was cold.
I thought it was cold.
Okay, interesting.
It's not.
We're going to get your real-time feedback on whether or not this one resonates.
Oh my God.
Yours is called closed.
Closed food.
These names are not... Names are not intuitive.
I like my food. Well, I do like it closed
No.
for
Let
safety.
me.
Not for.
These things are like really can't be like interpreted by the names themselves. So closed means that you are meant to be very picky and selective about your food.
I am.
You are somebody who often knows before a thing even touches your tongue whether you'll like it or not.
Yes.
And so for you, it's not about being like, I'm going to have really diverse food. I'm going to try all these new things. It's like, I don't want that. I already know it. I'm not going to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Helpful to know if your kid has that because like you might not want to force them to try all the things.
Yeah.
You're also somebody that does well with like regularity around food. And what I mean by that is like you find a smoothie you like.
I eat the same thing every day.
You stick with the freaking smoothie.
I eat the same thing.
You are meant to. And you might seasonally be inspired to change. But like for you, it is really around finding the things you love, sticking with it. And that means like traveling. You travel a lot. It's like, okay, I'm going to like bring the electrolytes I like. I'm going to like the like these powders, like traveling with the things that you already know that you like. So you don't kind of leave it all up to chance.
That's so funny.
Does that feel true?
Yes, 1000%. When I went to Spain to film X on the Beach and Are You the One, I packed an entire suitcase full of my snacks, my matchas that I like, my teas that I like. I have to have my things. Anywhere I travel, I have to have my medicines, like all the medicines that I like, because like I'm not doing the local generic wherever it's from.
Yeah.
And genuinely, my mom and I are both like this though. And she's a manifesting generator. We can eat the same things every day, or at least like I have the same few places. Yeah. It's so crazy we're having this conversation because I was literally telling my boyfriend, as I was telling you before we started, that like we're looking at homes or we're going to be in the fall. And I was saying this, I was like, this sounds crazy, but I need less options. Like being in the city where I have 20 coffee places and 30 pizza places, and I don't need that. I need one pizza place, one Chinese food restaurant, one coffee shop, one of each thing.
Yeah.
If we could go back to 1950 without the racism and misogyny, and go back to the grocery stores that just had like one kind of flour and one kind of, the milkman brought one milk, like everything, you didn't have 1,000 brands, that would be ideal for me. Mm-hmm. One butter, one cereal. Well, not one cereal. I do like a few different types, but you know what I mean? Like
I do.
Less is more for me.
Yes.
Having too many options overwhelms me.
Yes. I love that. That's like such a beautiful reflection of this one. And again, I love human design in moments like this because like when people know themselves, they do it already.
Yeah.
This just affirms what they've already chosen.
Wow.
You know, in a way that you're like, oh yeah, that's already how I do it. And like, in case I ever felt any guilt or weirdness around it, it's just confirmation that like, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like my digestion is around being in environments that are very stimulating, which is around like eating when I stand up or when I'm walking or like, you know, like not being too sedentary after a meal, like going for a walk. And so like, I used to feel like that was such a weird quality of mine. And it was so validating to be like, that's perfectly fine.
Wow.
I know.
What is that called?
It's called nervous.
Nervous food?
Mm-hmm. I know. The names are weird.
And the cold food is like you genuinely like cold food.
You genuinely like it basically means that you might be somebody who runs a little bit hotter. And so it's really good to have food that cools you down. Wow. Smoothies, putting like ice cubes in your soup, ice cream, you know, cold salads. And there's also warm. I mean, the food stuff is really wild. It's definitely not the first piece I recommend people dive into because it's a little bit bizarre.
Yeah. But it's fun.
But
it's cool.
Fun. And it really is useful. You know, and like there are people that like, you know, might have a digestion called indirect. I remember one of my clients had this, and it basically means she's meant to like eat her biggest meals at night when the sun is down. So she would like eat really light during the day and then like eat her bigger meals right before bed, and even would like maybe eat more right before bed, and like that felt great to her.
Wow.
So it is so interesting because our systems are all so different.
It's so cool. I love it for the same reason why I love astrology and literally everything else. Is just like you said, sometimes the things that you're already doing in your life, this can explain it. The things that you think are strange or unique or weird or quirky about you, human design has the answer.
Totally. And it goes both ways. It either like affirms what you've been doing or it's really confronting. And like for me, when I discovered human design, it was incredibly confronting because I was not acting like a projector.
Yeah.
But it was the permissions that I needed to change things and find a way of operating that felt way better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ugh. Tell people where they can find the book, where they can find you, where they can find out more about themselves, more importantly.
I know.
Let me know.
The book is called How Do You Choose? A Human Design Guide to What's Best for You at Work and Love and in Life. We'll put the link in the show notes, but it's also humandesignblueprint.com/preorder-book, but it might change because it'll be out by now.
Mhm.
We also sell hyper-personalized guides all about your unique design. So that's basically like a 60-page, like, let me walk you through all the most important pieces.
Yep.
We have a discount code Kamie for that.
Hey.
And then on Instagram, I'm at Erin Claire Jones and Human Design Blueprint.
Thank you so much. Thank
My
you for coming
pleasure.
back.
Oh, so fun. Thanks
See?
for having me.
I'm really nice, guys. People like to come back to visit.
It's true.
And we have great conversations. And I love this. And I'm so happy for you. Congratulations
Thank you, my love.
on the book and the babies and the everything. Truly. It's incredible. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.